What's going on, people in YouTube land? Kimchi Chris here, and welcome to today's brand new video. The first in a brand new series of videos where I am going to review classic records, ones that I love and ones that you submit. So if you want me to review a specific record in a future episode of this, just leave it in the comments below or send it to me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Tell it to me in person if you see me on the street. Just let me know what records you want me to analyze, and hopefully I enjoy them, and if I don't enjoy them, well, that might be entertaining as well. But regardless, this is a brand new series, Kimchi Classics, and welcome to the first episode. And I figured for this first episode, we needed to start with the band that really started it all for me as far as music goes, and started for a lot of you guys, and definitely brought a lot of us together here in the Kimchi Chris community. The band that always gets the most views on videos, the band that always gets the most interaction, the band that always gets the most likes, and also gets the most hate sometimes, but nonetheless, the band that you guys seem to love most on this channel. And without further ado, as Paul would say, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Kiss. We're starting with the debut record here, self-titled Kiss by Kiss. Let's get into this. Someone's gonna say I somehow damaged the record there because I did this little move, but guess what? I'm doing it again. So depending when you got into Kiss, you always have an entry point, be it a record, an event, something in your life. And depending who you ask, it's usually different. You know, some people got into the band, believe it or not, in the mid-80s, and Asylum and Crazy Nights would be their entry points. A lot of people got into them in their heyday in the 70s, and of course things like Alive, Destroyer, Love Gun, what have you, were their entry points. And there's some people that got into the current version of the band and say, you know, Sonic Boom was my first new Kiss record. So it all kind of just depends when you got into the band. But funny enough, not a lot of people say the debut record was their first record. But a lot of people came in with Alive, and that has a lot of songs from this. So as a result, everybody knows these songs from the moment that they're into Kiss. And as a result, these songs have stuck with the band through the years, a very, very long time. More so than a lot of bands with their debut records. I mean, you can even look at something like Aerosmith, and outside of a few choice cuts, they don't play a lot of that material anymore. But if you look at the current Kiss set list, there's still quite a few songs from this debut record in there. And as a result, it just says these songs have stood the test of time as far as the Kiss fandom community and Kiss themselves go, because let's just be fair, a lot of bands put out amazing debut records and in some cases can't really follow them up too well. And then some bands just continue to grow from there and get bigger and better over time. But Kiss is a weird middle ground where the first record had a lot of good songs. They just didn't necessarily have the best production and best performances of those songs on tape. And that's what we're going to jump into as we go into this review process, is that a lot of these songs are really good songs and they resonate with a lot of people. But most people, myself included, will go to the Alive version as the definitive version of each of these songs. And what a convenient segue that is. Let's get into this review, because I am going to do this one track by track. I'm not going to necessarily do that with everything that I review on here. For example, if we tackle a Minor Threat record, I'm probably not going to do it on something like that because there is a similarity into the sound and it's hard to differentiate every little part of it. Some people would disagree with me on that, but you know, it's just how it is. But these records that mean a lot to me and have a lot of focus on the specific songs, I'm going to do that with, and I'm going to do that with every Kiss record, for example. And yes, I am going to tackle every Kiss record for some reason. It's not going to be necessarily one a week or anything like that, because I need to have variety in there, because if I talk about all these Kiss records, we're just going to be like every other channel that does the Kiss reviews over and over, and there's nothing wrong with those channels. There's a lot of great ones out there, but I need some variety, and you know, part of the point of this series is to bring some new viewers in. So I've rambled a little bit much. Let's jump into the songs. And what better way to start a classic Kiss record than with a classic Kiss song? A song that would really lay the blueprint for a lot of Kiss songs, a lot of Paul Stanley songs, and that we all know and love. That's right, we're talking about Strutter. And right out of the gate, Paul knows what he wants, and he knows what he wants to sing about. He wants to sing about girls. This one's passing him by. He doesn't like that, but he's okay because he's Paul Stanley. He's gonna get through this. And Strutter is a straightforward rock song that really works well no matter what you're into. I mean, when people say, you know, Kiss isn't a rock band, they care about the merchandising and I Was Made for Loving You and things of that nature, you can show them Strutter and say, this is a great rock and roll song, and if you don't like it, I don't know what's wrong with you. I guess you don't like rock and roll music, because this one is great. It's essential. This is one that really isn't hampered too much by the performance on this record versus the Alive one. This one actually is a great song. You know, it's a great recording of a great song. The guitar solo is great. Everybody's firing on all cylinders, and it really seems like they knew this was going to be the intro to the band, and what better intro could you have? Strutter is a classic. And not to be outdone by Paul, Gene and Peter come in on the second track with Nothing to Lose. A great throwback song to kind of 50s and 60s style rock and roll. Makes sense that Peter's singing on this one, and makes sense that Gene's singing it because he lets you know what he wants in the world. He wants anal sex. That's what this song is about. As a little kid, I didn't know that. I just thought it was telling you have nothing to lose, have a fun rock and roll party with your friends. It's gonna be a great time. And even in these early days, Gene tried to use innuendo to hide his sexual cravings because this one, funny enough, was released as a single, and it's funny when you think about the concept of the song, the subject matter, but nonetheless it was a single. It didn't really do so hot, but it was thrown out there. And this is another one that isn't hampered too much from the recording on here. The live version is great, of course, but this one's definitely a very usable track, and it's a great one. This is an amazing intro to the Demon and the Catman as far as vocals go, and of course Ace has a great solo on here. The rhythm playing from Paul is great, and overall this is just a great track. And up next at track number 3, we have another true Kiss classic, one that was in the set list for years as the song that Gene would breathe fire to. That's right, we're talking about Firehouse. And just like most of the tracks on here, it's a straightforward rocker about girls with Paul back on the vocals. Now this is the first one on the record that I think the live version is far superior. This one is just too slow, too plodding. I know that some people like that about it, but I need the live version. That's the first one I heard, and this one is inferior as far as the recording goes to that version. But it's still a great song. The whole "Call the Firehouse because she sets my soul on fire," I think that is such a clever lyric. I mean, that's early Paul Stanley just again singing about what he knows. This girl's just so hot. We need to call the firehouse to get her. And even in the early days, you know, Paul knew shtick and he knew to put on the fire hat with this one as Gene was getting ready to breathe the fire, and you know, it was just a great song, but this recording of it is just so-so. If you look up this recording of it, you might say, it sounds like an alright song, but when you hear the live version, it's a lot better. It is improved a lot on that record. But overall, this version on the first record, it's okay. It's acceptable. It's almost filler in a weird way, even though I consider it a classic. But this recording of it is almost filler, but it did stick in the set for a long time, so they didn't intend it that way, and the live version really had this song blossom into the beautiful, amazing Kiss classic that we all know and love today. And at track number 4, we have one of the most perplexing Kiss songs in history as far as the recording process and things like that go. We have Cold Gin, a song about drinking, partying, all that kind of stuff, you know? It's a song called Cold Gin. It's not talking about vodka and orange juice. It's talking about cold gin, as Paul would say on stage. And this became a signature song to have in the live set. But what's interesting about it is that it was wrote by Ace, which, you know, shouldn't be surprising to anybody. He liked to have a little bit of a drink, so writing a song like this, you know, goes with his character. But we all know on this recording, Ace doesn't sing the song, even though it's about drinking, and the band wanted him to sing it. He just didn't have the confidence. So Gene sang it. Mr. Gene Simmons, Mr. Straight Edge Gene Simmons was the one that sang the song about drinking. Now that might sound bizarre, but Gene's vocals do work really well on the song, so it was a good choice. Other than the beginning kind of shouts of "oh yeah" that Paul does, Gene does sing a majority of this song, and he does it really well. And this is a very good recording of the song. It works really well. The live one is cool, but this one's fine. This is a great recording. It's classic. Of course, years down the line, Ace would re-record it solo with his vocals on it, as well as performing it live, sharing the vocals with Gene through the years, doing it on his solo tours, things of that nature. But this one's just a great song with kind of a weird riff. If you really listen to that riff, it's weird. It's an easy one to play, and the little breakdown is really kind of weird too, because it's not exactly a solo, but it's not exactly not a solo. This is one where there were a lot of riffs, and the fact that it was written by a guitarist really makes a lot of sense to me. But overall, it's a great classic recording, and I have nothing bad to say about it. I know I haven't said anything bad about this record yet, but believe me, it's coming up. We're gonna say some things in a second that aren't all positive about this record. But before we get to that, we have track number 5, Let Me Know, a song that seems to be forgotten by a lot of Kiss fans, and I think it's a great deep cut. I think it's awesome. You have Gene and Paul trading vocals back and forth on this one. And, you know, it's just a straightforward rocker, kind of in a 50s type of style. It has that weird ending where it has the part that eventually would go on to in She in the live settings. But it's a great song, and this recording is really cool. Of course, they did a kind of fake live recording of it on the You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best back in the mid-90s when the band got back together, and that recording's really cool, but until then, this was the only representation we had of this song. Even though this one was played in some of the live early sets, it didn't make it to a live, didn't make it to a live 2, nothing like that, so we don't have any of those type of recordings to compare it to, which, funny enough, makes me wonder if some of these other recordings would be looked at a little bit more fondly if there weren't the superior live versions. But overall, this is a great song. You know, the back and forth vocals, that's one of the coolest parts about it. I wish Gene and Paul would do that more often because the results are great. I mean, just look at this. This song is fire because of the back and forth vocals. The guitar solo is great, and again, that ending is really cool, even if it is a little bit weird, and they just seem to kind of throw it on there so they'd have a recording of it. But this is a great way to end side one of the record on a high note. And, you know, there's 2 versions of this record. There's 2 versions out there. The original pressing has 9 tracks, and the basically regular version of the record, the one that we've all listened to, has 10. And you flip the record over and you get to the opening of side 2, and this is the first song on the record that I think they start to falter a little bit. Because track number 6 is Kissin' Time. This was not included on the original pressing, but the management and whatnot thought that Kiss needed a song on there for a competition they were doing where it was a kissing contest basically, and as a result they decided to kind of rework a old rock and roll song and kind of make the lyrics more, I don't know, applicable to what they were doing, but they didn't work too hard on them, you can tell, because this is the first song that isn't great on the record. It's kind of a cheesy cover. You have Gene, Paul, and Peter all trading off vocals. It cites a lot of cities and things like that, and it's just a little bit cheesy. I mean, it's fun. It has its moments. The drum fills that Peter does kind of in the chorus are really cool. That's a really cool drum fill. And the fact that all the guys share vocals, that's a really cool thing as well. So ideally, you would think this was a great track, but I don't know, it's just kind of cheesy. It's not too different from some of the other songs on the record, in all honesty. If they changed the lyrics around, I think it'd be okay, honestly, because the music's fine, but the lyrics are just so cheesy, and knowing the backstory behind it, the guys didn't even want this on the record, but here it is forever now. And we get to have it on every pressing now, unless you get the original 74 pressing that doesn't have it on there, and you might be better for it without it being on there, but funny enough, I think if this wasn't put on the record and then somehow we got it as an unreleased track way down the line, more people would be okay with it, myself included, but as it stands as part of this classic record that otherwise doesn't have a lot of flaws, this just seems kind of weird to have it in there, especially when you had some songs like Watching You and She and Lover All I Can that they also could have chose from, but I get the reason it was on there. I just don't think it's a great addition to the record overall. When that track's over, it's almost like Kiss wanted to apologize to you and say, you know, sorry we did that. Here's a really great rock and roll song, because at track number 7, we have the iconic Deuce. Now this one is the best example of any song on this record to show how Alive improved these songs, because the Alive version is the version that's one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. But this one is just okay. It's not bad, but it's just kind of slow, and when you hear the Alive one, and you hear that you wanted the best, you got the best, the crowd applause in there, the extended solo part at the end, everything about it is so much better, and that's the version that is one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. Now, Ace loves this song. This is Ace's favorite Kiss song. He says it all the time. This is what he rehearsed to. I think it just has that certain nostalgia for him, and it's a great song. I mean, he has all the right in the world to think this is one of the best Kiss songs ever, and his favorite one in this case, because, you know, it's great. Gene's vocals are great, Paul's backing vocals are great, Paul's rhythm guitar is great, Gene's bass is great, Ace's solo is great, Peter's drumming is great, everything about this is great. I don't really have any other words to say. I love this song, even though the Alive version is so much better, but this one is an okay one. But I'd say if you've never heard this song before, and you want to experience both versions, and you really want to truly enjoy this one, listen to this one first, and you'll go, that's cool, that's a great song, it's cool. But then, when you listen to the Alive version, you're gonna go, oh my god, I'm floored. I am floored with how much this song was improved. I'm gonna hit the table some more. I really have nothing negative to say about this song, but the next one I do, and that is track number 8, Love Theme from Kiss. Definition of filler, I just don't know why it's there. It's part of a bigger piece of music that they would do live called Acrobat or You're Much Too Young, depending who you ask, and I don't know, it's filler. I don't know why it's there. It's okay, it's interesting, the riff isn't awful, but it's basically just the same riff over and over again, and similar to Kissin' Time, it's just kind of a weird song to have on there. Funny enough, the 2 songs that aren't great on there both have Kiss in the title, so they were a little bit punny on the band's name. So we're just gonna move on because there's really not much else to talk about on that one. But track number 9, on the other hand, is really a great song, and that is 100,000 Years. Another song that is fine on this recording, but the Alive version is so much better with the Peter Criss drum solo and the Do You Feel Alive part, and all of the little things that they would do live with the song forever after that. It's kind of a weird song with Paul's vocals, and it's supposedly about an astronaut, and that makes sense because the lyrics don't make a lot of sense. Even to this day, they don't make a lot of sense. It kind of seems like they just threw some words in there, but the riff is so good and the instrumentation is so good that I'll give it a pass. I mean, this version is cool, but you need to listen to the Alive version. It's just killer. And that brings us to the last song on the record, track number 10, Black Diamond. Oh man, what a classic. What a way to end a record. What a way to end a set, because obviously this is the one that they've kept in their set all these years as the predominant closer, and it's a true classic. It opens with an acoustic piece with Paul singing on some, very quiet guitars, and then he says the iconic words, "Hit it!" And then it just explodes, and then the live setting, of course, pyro's going off, explosions are going everywhere, there's smoke everywhere, people are sacrificing people in the audience. They just know that the rock that is being presented to them on stage is just so rock, and they just gotta figure out something to do, so they start sacrificing people to this song. Oh man, it's crazy. I've seen it happen. And on that note, the subject matter is funny. It's about a prostitute that was named Black Diamond, which, is pretty crazy, but once the rockin' part kicks in, it's Peter on vocals, and it just is such a perfect song for his voice. When they've done it through the years in the live settings, they've always had their drummers sing it, and luckily they've all had kind of similar vocal registers. Some have been better, some have been worse, but it's always worked out. But it's such a great song, such a cool song. The riff is just amazing. It's dark, it's rockin', everything about it is great. The guitar solo is great. This is another one that I can't say anything negative about, and even though the Alive version is killer with all the explosions and everything, I love this version. I'm in love with the studio version of this for sure. I even love the part at the end that I've heard a lot of people say negative stuff about, where they're just kind of droning on a note and slowing down the tape, and it's just kind of hitting you and hitting you and hitting you. It's very doomy, very sludgy, kind of a predecessor to doom and sludge metal, and I love that. Even though I'm just so-so on those genres, I love that Kiss beat a lot of people to the punch on that one. I've kind of always wondered why they came up with that ending for the recorded version. I mean, maybe they were just playing it live and it didn't transition well to tape, because this was very much a song made for the live setting, and they just kind of said, I don't know, slow down the tape. That'll be cool. Let's do that. And as weird as it is, it's one of the most unique things in the recording history of Kiss, and who would have thunk it would have been on their first record, something truly experimental and weird. I love it, and yeah, that's all there is to say about Black Diamond. It's a classic. Go listen to Black Diamond. It's one of the best Kiss songs ever, right up there with Deuce. And there you have it. We made it through the record track by track. As you could probably tell, I do like this record. I think the recordings are somewhat problematic when you compare them to the live ones. I've said that about 1,000 times, and you've heard about 1,000 Kiss fans say that, and we're gonna touch on that with the next couple records as well. But overall, I think it's a good record. It's a decent place to start as a Kiss fan, and it's a great way to introduce somebody new to the band, and even to show it to the naysayers that say that Kiss isn't a real rock and roll band, because this is a real rock and roll record. I get it if you don't like the merchandise, if you don't like the appealing to kids, if you don't like the same set list year after year, but this is a great rock and roll record. And I'd say, as far as our rating goes, I'd give this 8 bottles of cold gin out of 10. It's so close to being perfect, but it's not quite there, but it's definitely above average. It's a great, great record. Let's see how many times I can say great in this review. I gotta think of some more words. I gotta get a thesaurus. With that being said, we're gonna end this review. I know it's a long one, so if you stuck the whole thing out, I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this record? Is this one of your favorite Kiss records? Can you not stand it? Let me know in the comments below. And again, submit more records that you want me to review. I'm going to make this a series, assuming you guys like it, so it'll be a lot of fun if I have some great records to pull from. And if you're new around here, of course subscribe to the channel, because you want more quality content like this, don't you, in your life? And make sure to hit the little alarm so you actually get the updates here from the Kimchi Criss channel. Make sure to give this thing a thumbs up if you enjoyed it just a little bit. And I know I just said it, I'm gonna say it again. My name's Kimchi Criss. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next video.